YouTube friends. It's Sunday afternoon and I want to try and get this one filmed and edited and posted for my usual slot on 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time on a Sunday evening, but I am leaving it rather late. And so it's just a few little bits and pieces that I want to talk to you about today. So first of all, I got dressed this morning like you do, and I picked up this jumper. And I bought this jumper ages ago. It was not expensive. It's not a wool. It's a easy to wash acrylic thing. And the neck was right up here. And I don't like, it's a personal thing, I don't like having really tight necks. And so what I've done is I've taken the neck off. So I got my stitch ripper and just very carefully found the first stitch and teased it undone, and then without stretching the body of the jumper at all, I just unpicked the big neck thing, and yeah, here I am doing that. And while I was doing this, I was thinking, well, I need to stabilize it, because this will now be very, very stretchy indeed, and will just stretch out of shape, and then I'll never wear it. And so what I did next was got my box of bias tape, which was my mum's, and she collected all of these bias tape colours and sizes and widths, and I knew there'd be something in there that would do, and that was, yeah. So I found a yellow in the end, not that one because it was a bit too thin. I found one that was a bit thicker. In there somewhere. It wasn't exactly the right yellow that I wanted, but that one would do. There, I used that one in the end. It's a bit lemon, but my plan in doing this was that you weren't going to see it anyway. And so what I did next then, without stretching this neck edge at all, I stitched the first part of the bias tape on, and I used Aurifil thread. Because that's nice and strong, and then I folded it over like you can see me doing here, so that there wasn't any of the bias tape showing, and stitched it down. Now the nice thing about this pattern is it's got this kind of rib effect here, so that meant I could go into the back of one of the rib stitches and tack it down. Across the back it hasn't got that, but if anyone's that close, then you know, we're too close for social distancing, aren't we? I think the back looks fine. Okay, so I stitched all of that down then. It didn't take long. I was watching my politics show, the Andrew Marr show, and I did it while I was watching that. And there it all is. And that means then that the neck's got some stabilisation, but it's also sitting where I want it to sit. And then I think I put it on. So you're going to see two pictures of me with the jumper on, and me here with my cat. Yeah, so it sits okay. I mean, it's not ideal, it's not perfect, but I definitely wouldn't have worn it before. Anytime I did wear it, I just hated how much neck there was up here. So now I've made this a usable jumper. So I was happy that I did that. There's a couple of other things I want to talk to you about. I've had the busy sort of day that you have when you take all your bottles to the recycling, all your cardboard, all your recycled tin and so on, all of plastic, all of that. You bag it all up and take it to the recycling. Took me ages because I have got a lot that's been building up. The recycling locally to me is only open a limited time. So I did all that this afternoon. It's a bit of socially distanced rubbish tipping. But now what I want to talk about is over on the design board. So I'm going to stop now and move you over there. It's occurred to me that I haven't talked to you about Agnes's quilt for the longest time. It's here on the backboard here, but I've been slowly working away at it and stitching the next section together in the evenings when I'm watching a bit of telly or just sitting you know, after the day is done. I've been stitching away on this section. And I wanted to talk to you because I get a lot of questions about this. And so I thought I'd talk to you about how I construct a big piece like this. Now, there are as many different ways of sewing anything as there are people out there. So I'm not giving you this as the only way to do it. This is the way that I like to do it. It works for me. And it means that I'm going to show you, I probably will come in overhead to show you this. It might be easier to see. But when you're sewing together, and when I sew this piece to this piece, you might think it's going to be really hard to hold. But the way that I do it, you're only ever concentrating on one seam at a time. So the questions I get asked are these. One of the most common ones is, do I take the papers out as I go? So this is a paper template on a piece of fabric. English paper piecing is what we're doing here. I think quite a lot of you have seen me do this over the months. There is no hurry for this. This is going to be a quilt for my granddaughter, Agnes, who is only just one. She was 1 in October. And she's growing, of course she's growing, but this is for when she comes to stay at grandma's, which will be not even this year, because she's just very little at the moment. So when she wants to come and stay with me, we're going to have this quilt for her. So I want to make it single bed size, so it will last her quite a long time. And this is nowhere near single bed size. So it's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. Now at the moment, it's just that wide. So I may add some more pieces down here. In my box here, I've got all the things that I need for making these units. And this is another thing that I like to do. I like to sit of an evening watching a bit of telly, and I'll get the paper templates, which are here, and I cut these on my Sizzix machine. You've seen me do all that before. It may be that I, think about, where do they go again? Up here. Left for links. It may be that I stick a link up here to some of the other videos about this, particularly about this. But I thought it was ages since we'd done an update on it, and I wanted to answer some of the questions that I commonly get asked. So the papers then, and again, we talked about this, there's many, many different ways of stitching the templates, the papers onto the templates, or gluing them on, or doing a clever thing where you just catch one little bit at the corner so that the stitches don't go through. There's loads of different ways of doing this. This is an inch template, which means you measure it across the side there. That's where you measure that. And what I'm loving very much about the inch template is I bought a couple of charm packs, Kaffe Fassett charm packs, and if I carefully fold these in half and in half again, so I fold it into quarters, I can get 4 of my base units out of one charm square, 5-inch square. So I'm very pleased that I can use these charm square bundles that I've got from Kaffe Fassett. A lot of these are Kaffe Fassett, not exclusively. Okay then, so what I really wanted to talk about today then, and as I say, I think we might come in overhead so I can show you, is how I'm constructing this. It's not the only way, but it's how I'm constructing it. So the first thing I do is lay it out in a way that I like. I photograph it, I put it into grayscale, all of that. And then I'll take one strip, and I think if anybody tuned in on New Year's Eve when we did the live stream, I was stitching, which was lovely by the way, I really, really enjoyed it. I was stitching long runs of these together, and I have a polystyrene board, a little one, and I was putting the each of the units from the design onto the polystyrene. And now what I've done is I've sewn all of these long strips. Now these are easy to sew. You don't need to worry about how you're handling these. I think I told you that the way that I didn't even have to think about when I picked it up, which was the top and which was the bottom. On the paper of the template, I just did a little red dot with a Sharpie, so that each one of these has got a little red dot on it, so that I always know that this is the top, which means I never get into a muddle. That's been really helpful, which means that I can leave it halfway through and come back and know where the top is. Because I saw on this, what, half an hour in the evening time, watching a film or whatever I want to do, stitching a little bit. So come on, let's have a look at the way that I stitch this, so that when you have a big handful of the stuff, it's not unwieldy. And just a word about the papers. I leave the papers in until the whole thing is finished, completely finished. And so all of this is stiff with all the papers that are in there. And the reason I do that, as soon as the hexagon is enclosed by all the other hexagons around it, of course that piece of paper is now redundant. You don't need it to form the shape of the hexagon. But the reason why I leave it in, it gives the whole piece of work the same consistency, so that when you're handling a big piece like this, there isn't a looser piece that's got no papers in and a stiffer piece that's full of papers that are actually pulling against one another, which is why I like to leave the papers in. I think some people take the papers out because you can reuse these. And if you haven't got an infinite supply, and I'm lucky to have my Sizzix machine, so I just run a few more off any time I need any. But if you haven't got accurate templates like that, you can reuse these. So that might be one reason why people take out the ones in the middle, so that they can reuse the templates. Right, I'm going to show you then my method of sewing. Okay, let's see, where did I leave this? There I am, there. So my needle's just in that bit there. I'll just get that out. Okay, so this one's going to be sewn onto this one next. So the way that I like to do this then, I like to fold that one in half. It's half a hexie now, so that these two then line up beautifully here. And then I'll just jiggle them a little, just in case one's ever so slightly longer than the other, which it is here. I wonder if you can see, it's like a tiny little bit of fabric there that is a little bit longer. So I will ease that over so that it fits in. It's fabric, which is very forgiving stuff. You can ease it or stretch it just a little. So I get those two there, because one of my big bugbears about English paper piecing is this junction here, where three seams meet together. And what I try really, really hard to avoid is having a hole at that junction. So when I start to sew, and I'm using, this is Gutermann, but I use Aurifil or Gutermann, either one, in this pale grey, because it just blends in with everything. Single, I don't use it double. Let's get that tail a bit longer. There we go. And I'm slightly clumsy because I'm doing it underneath this plastic box here. But I think if I show you, I'm just going to stitch along. Now, when I do these stitches, I'm trying really hard to avoid the paper that's in the templates. I'm only taking the tiniest bit of fabric from the edge of the fold. And so when you take the papers out, I mean, occasionally you'll see a little bit of perforation where the needle might have hit it, but you're missing the fabric, or the fabric is missing the paper altogether when you do your stitches. I mean, I felt the paper then a bit, but most of the time it's right there on the fold. Now, as you're getting towards the end, and I counted once, and on these inch hexes, I get 22 stitches. You don't have to count 22 stitches, but that's what I average, about that. But when I get to the edge of the piece here, I mean, this is so relaxing to do when you're watching a bit of telly, you got it on your knee. And you can see, even though this is a really big piece, it doesn't matter about the rest of this. I'm only working on this bit here, which means that with the papers in there, it's not a bother at all. Now, when I get to this edge here, I just make sure that those are lined up beautifully. And then I do about 3 stitches in the corner there. Then that bit there that's folded over, I'm going to open that up now, which brings this next hexagon in line with the next seam I need to do. Fold it against there and fold this hexie in half. So this paper now, I can fold that one in half and line these 2 edges up here. I've got my 3 seams coming together, and I give this a really thorough over and over stitch, maybe 3 times. So now then, I'm just paying attention now to that junction where those are going to meet together, and then I do my approximately 22 stitches along here. I always give them a good tug so that they're not loose. They're bedded really well into the fabric, so that the stitches, they may show a little, but they won't show much if you pull them nice and tight, which is why decent cotton is really important. Check that junction there that I'm coming up to now. And you can see, can't you, that this is straightforward. If I've got long runs of hexagons like this, and I know that they're correctly aligned because I've done my little red dot, then you could sew all day. Now I'm at the junction again, mindful of the fact that I'm avoiding a hole, and do 3 stitches here like that, and then I can unfold that one, open it up again, and this time I'm folding this one and lining that one up there, and off you go, exactly the same. There's a little update on Agnes's quilt. We'll revisit it again soon, but there's no hurry for it, as I keep saying. Now, last Sunday, you were all very lovely about watching me tidy up my shelves. You're so sweet. I got some lovely comments from people who had enjoyed watching the progress of me tidying up my shelves. They're still really tidy, I'd just like to say. Now, a few people asked me about the piece of work that's to the left of the shelves, this. And when I was clearing out the drawers, that little run of 3 drawers, I found some of my tools for making that kind of work. And it made me think that I've actually got a project in my mind that I'd really like to do. I made that, years ago now. I can't even remember how many years ago. And it's a technique called rug hooking, or proggy or hooky rugging. It's a very traditional northeast thing. These are beautiful tools that I got made by a guy in Ireland who no longer makes them. But actually, I mostly use that one, which is a rivet from the shipyards in the northeast of England. And this is a sharpened up rivet. So I'm not going to tell you a great deal about this now, but I am going to do a project that I've had in my mind for the longest time. Finding the tools and having people ask me about that piece beside the shelves has made me think, yeah, maybe the time has come, because it's a winter project I want to do. So what I'm going to say is that if I tell you I'm going to do it, I'll have to, won't I? Yeah, I will. I'll have to. So soon I'm going to show you how I use these tools, what these are all for, the massive frame that we'll use for it, and I'll set the whole thing up and I'll talk to you about that then. But yeah, I'm quite excited about doing it. So I'll get back to you once I've got all that together. That's the plan anyway. So for now though, I wanted to have a little look at a closer look at the hexagons with you. Fix my jumper there, that's okay now. Okay then, that's goodbye from me for now. I was waiting a moment then because this cat here was waking up. So this cat's woken up. She has been asleep on the windowsill all day long. This is Cat Rita. She's been asleep all day. It must be because she's hungry that she's woken up. We need to feed you, don't we? I think so. See you next time. Thanks for watching.